Eris, Roar of the Storm, the lesser known but still quite powerful commander from the Stellarly wildcard deck that got so much attention, and rightly so. But I really like Eris. He's a 10 mana commander, but you're never paying that much, and he's a 4/4 with flying and prowess. Prowess means it gets +1/+1 every time you play a non-creature spell, and he costs 2 less for each different mana value among instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. So he's kind of got a similar feel to Melik, the new Melik, in that like you're trying to get stuff into your graveyard that has different mana values to reduce his cost. Though, like honestly, focusing too much on that is not really necessary. It's pretty easy to get his cost down to a 2 or 4, and then like by the time you need to cast him again, you usually don't need to worry about that part. So I think the mistake I made at first, and the mistake many people might make, is like focusing really hard on like that aspect of reducing his cost, when in fact I don't feel like it's actually that important in the end. Especially the way I like to build this deck, which is more of like a mid-range control deck. So I'm not often rushing Eris out. Rather, I prefer to just kind of like get set up, get some ramp going. It is not great at ramping, as everyone knows. So like we want to focus on like mulliganing for a hand that like has some solid setup and like can really power out in the mid game. So maybe like looking for a board wipe to like get yourself set up for success while everyone else is all of a sudden on the back foot. So let's talk about, I guess, well, let's finish talking about the commander. So whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you create a 4/4 red dragon elemental creature token with flying and prowess. So again, prowess buffs it every time you play a non-creature. As you can see, we're only playing 9 creatures, so there are quite a lot of non-creatures. In fact, like we've got 30 land. These 3 count as non-creatures potentially. So 30 plus 9 is we've got 39 creatures and lands. Therefore, we have 60 non-creature spells in the deck. So quite a lot. Our board gets very big and very scary just from Eris alone. In fact, I think a trap in building this commander is adding things like Balmor, Battle Mage Captain. It's a good card, and if you wanted to build this deck in a very aggressive style, I think you could do that. And you could play stuff like, I think there's the Storm spell from the Stella deck that makes more of these red dragon elemental creature tokens, but you could play like Roaming Throne. I think all of those things are not necessary. Like, it's just causing the deck to do more of the same, and it's already like very good at doing that just with Eris alone. I feel like overextending and like focusing on like making that effect even better, like making more of these tokens or making them even bigger, you really just don't need to do that, and you're much better suited having a like very solid setup, not appearing to be too big of a threat. Because if you play Eris and then you drop a Balmor or you drop a Roaming Throne, all eyes are on you, and like it's going to be tough to win that game. Like you're going to have a strong board presence, but like there are going to be people looking at you and worrying. So I find I have a lot more success trying to fly under the radar as long as possible, and then kind of just like winning with an explosive turn. If you've seen my Alondra Sky Dreamer deck, it's similar in that way. You're just like building a modest looking board, and then all of a sudden like you can just kill everyone like out of nowhere. So let's talk about first the ramp and like what we're doing in the setup turns. So I'm going to switch over to my types and tags so we can look at some categories of cards. So I'm running 5 of these cycling cards that can, so you'll notice that the land count in this deck is pretty light. I think for a mid-range control deck, I would normally run like something like 35 or 36 land, maybe even up to like 37, 38. However, I'm only running 33 in this deck, and that includes MDFCs. And the reason for that is we've got these cycling cards that sort of like help us get there in terms of like you know, if you draw this Boon of the Wishgiver, it's a 6 mana spell, but it cycles for 1, and it gets a 6 mana card in your graveyard right away to reduce Eris's cost. So this is a really nice one from Ikoria, and it's been reprinted a couple other times. Very inexpensive card. In fact, all of these are, except for Lorien Revealed, which has just got like applications in so many other decks. But you know, in general, in fact, let me update this to cheapest. I thought I did that. Yeah, so this is a like $3 card, but like the rest of these are very inexpensive, and you know, they're not efficient. Don't get me wrong. Like, you don't want to be playing a basic land cycling card that costs 2 mana in any deck. But in this deck, where it's very valuable to get a 6 mana spell into your graveyard without casting it, I do like these cards, and they let you keep a hand with light land. Like, you can keep a 2-lander with this Fiery Fall, and you know, I'm going to talk about this more and more because it's important to me, and I think people should be thinking more about it. But like, the cards you play early game, it's like a first impression, right? You only get one chance to make a first impression. If the first action you take is cycling a Fiery Fall on turn 2, you're automatically like lowering the threat assessment of yourself, I think, right off the bat. And astute players will realize that like, you're playing this card for a good reason. However, you know, I think it's automatic in a way that, you know, if I didn't know better and wasn't having this conversation with you right now, and I saw someone do nothing on turn 1, cycle a Fiery Fall on turn 2, you know, if you really want to like add bonus points, do it in your main phase, like a real noob. You know, normally like you want it, because you can do this in instant speed, right? So you want to really like drive this point home, just do this right in your main phase. Just like, automatically, like, strong players at the table will be looking elsewhere for threats if you do something like that. I'm not saying it's the right move, especially if you have another play that you can hold up at instant speed. Maybe just don't do that, but something to think about. Those first impressions are powerful, and that could end up winning you the game. You'll never know if that's the case, right? Because it's impossible to tell if that's why that person decided to attack you or someone else, and maybe that 1 or 2 or 3 life points really mattered and you would have won or lost because of that. But it is interesting to think about. So yeah, these cards are really powerful. They help get you set up, even though like they appear like pretty inefficient, and they are. It's just a good way to get going and to like, we don't want to be running out a lot of creatures. I think the way this deck looks to play out is you're going to just get set up, try to get your graveyard filled, land a board wipe on turn 3 or 4, and then develop right after that. So let's look at the board wipes that we're running. We're running quite a few. 4 is more than I normally play in any deck. But control decks, you know, maybe lean a little more heavily into this. In fact, like, you could even consider running one more depending on what your metagame looks like. If you're against a lot of creature decks, a lot of early like mana dorks, or just aggro decks, adding something like Chain Reaction here could definitely be worth it. So feel free to adjust based on your meta. I find that this has been working for me, but I have been on the fence about adding Chain Reaction for quite some time, because I think that's really how this deck wants to play out, is like landing a board wipe on turn 3 or turn 4 and then setting up right after that. So look for one of these in your opener. It's not required, but it is very good if you have a board wipe in your opening hand, because you know you can just set up, go slowly, not worry about like not developing, you know, keep that threat assessment low on you, and then come out swinging in the mid game. So let's talk about our ramp package. We're running, you know, all the ramp we can, essentially. Let me sort this by mana value. All right, so, you know, I'll touch briefly on this land. I think this land is OP. It's, you know, it's a Wooburg land. It can make any color. Yeah, it costs you 1 life, but like, who cares? That is, it's rare that that matters in the grand scheme of a game. And the better you get at Magic, the more you realize that your life is a resource and you need not worry about like lowering your life total early game. I talk about this a lot. A lot of times, like, I'm the one who fetched or shocked in lands or both, like early game, so I'm at 37, everyone else is at 40, and so many players make their decision on who to target and who to attack based on life totals, which is inane, but you know, it happens all the time. I'm sure you've seen it. I see it every day. So playing effects like this, not only is it like very powerful for reasons we'll talk about in a moment, but like it's also just like lowering your threat assessment again. Which is a very important concept in Commander and something that like it took me a long time to get. I've been playing Magic 30 years, but I'm pretty new to Commander. I started like just over a year or a year and a half ago, and that is just a concept that doesn't really exist in other formats because there is no concept of threat assessment except on a like individual card basis in other formats. You know, you've got one opponent and you're trying to kill them. But in Commander, there's a lot of politics and there's a lot of like decision making and like smokescreen tactics. So something to think about. Of course, we're running Soul Ring. This is a power level 7 deck. Like, you know, it's probably a like nice mid 7, but definitely a 7. We're not running Mana Crypt here. Of course, if you want to put it in, you can, but like I don't like to run Mana Crypt in decks below power level 8 personally. Same thing with any Moxen or, you know, Lotus Petal I think's a corner case. It could be slotted in here. It would be okay. I've thought about it. I don't think you need it. We're running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 2-mana rocks. You could certainly stand to add another 1 or 2 if you like to have a little bit more ramp. I think it's not a bad thing, especially in this deck. Search for Escanta, everyone, I think any regular watchers know that this is one of my favorite cards ever. It's just a under the radar card that is so powerful in like consistent, like ensuring you get consistent draws, you know, helping you ramp. Like once you hit turn 7 or 7 cards in the graveyard, which happens quickly in this deck, this flips into a land. Then it's like you cast a rampant growth in blue-red. You can't beat that. And then here's a new one from MH3 that I'm in love with already. Copy land. You can have this enter as a copy of any land on the battlefield, not just lands you control. So if your opponent has flipped a Storm the Vault and they have that Tolarian Academy land, boom, that's yours. It's actually not that good in this deck though, because we don't have that many artifacts, but like the point is you can copy any land. Worst case scenario, copy an island that you have. Like it's not a big deal. Like don't stress about holding this for the optimal like situation. If you've got no turn 3 play, you better believe you should be slamming this and just copying a land. Now, is it more vulnerable than a land? Yes, because it is still an enchantment in addition to its other types. So it will get caught up in that like board wipe that hits, you know, austere command, like that hits enchantments or farewell. So that sucks. But like it's not any different than playing a 3-mana rock, and it's a lot better in a lot of different situations. So I really like this card, and I think it's an auto-include in almost any blue deck that doesn't have green, I would say. I would have to have a reason not to put this in a blue deck, a non... Again, I'm going to say this now, but like when I talk about this sort of thing, if you're playing a green blue deck, then like you don't want a card like this because this is less efficient than what green can be doing. But in any other color, I think this is an auto include. And I would, you know, I've already picked up like 10 copies of this. I would recommend it to you as well, because unless this gets reprinted a lot in the future, which is possible, I could see it being a valuable card in the long run. Just because we'll, you know, if you've got it, play it. It's insane. Don't be scared of running it out for a single mode if you have to. Like, just allow yourself the flexibility of that. Obviously, you want to play it with your commander out. It's ideal. But like, this is a control mid-range deck. We're not really looking to play a lot of cards on our turn necessarily. What we're more looking to do is play 2 cards every turn. So holding up instants and like, you know, stuff like that, so we can get a couple spells off on another player's turn is ideal. And then I've got, you know, some big mana sources here in Thran Dynamo and Mana Geyser. This is not a very color intensive deck. There are some like heavy color cards, but in general, like Thran Dynamo is a very solid card here, and it will serve you very well. So early game, we're looking to get some ramp out, maybe land a wheel early. This is something I didn't talk about yet. We're running 1 tutor and mystical tutor, and if you can just slam a bunch of early mana, like if you land a hand that's like 3 land, 2 mana rocks, and a mystical tutor, that hand is so good because you're just dumping your hand, ramping out, and then wheeling. And like that's just such a powerful way to start the game. And then like if you can land a board wipe right after that and then get set up and start making dragons, that's a way to win a game. So look for an early wheel and look to get it off quickly, and look for early mana. And we're going to do some mulligan practice hands after this, so we'll talk about that more. But I just want to like touch briefly on this card, which I love, absolutely love. Such a cool card, love the art. Imposing Grandeur. Each player, so this is an optional wheel, so it's automatically much less powerful than the like forced wheel effects like Windfall or original Wheel of Fortune, which if you have it and you don't feel like it's outside of the power scope of your deck, you should run it. I'm not running it because I try to avoid these very expensive cards, which I own and I got when they were much less expensive, but like, sometimes people just kind of roll their eyes at cards like that and like grumble, pay to win. So I try to avoid running cards like that when I have like these great other options that are still very effective. Imposing Grandeur, this card's sick though. Everyone gets the option, so they can discard their hand and then they can draw cards equal to the mana value of their commander. It doesn't matter if it's in play, it can be in the command zone or in the battlefield. I guess if they had put it in the graveyard, then like they don't get this option, which is interesting. I had never thought about that until I'm saying it right now. But anyway, so what was our commander's mana value again? Let's take a look. Does this reduction matter? No, it doesn't. Our mana value is 10. Nuts, right? So we can discard our hand and draw 10. And then everyone else gets to do it. They probably won't. Most people's commanders are like going to be 3 or 4, and this won't be worth it for them. So this is a really good card. 5 mana, heavy investment, but very powerful. Alright, let's move on to our draw. This is the meat, the like bread and butter of this deck is like draw. We're looking, this is Spellslinger deck at heart, right? We're looking to not necessarily like storm off and play a bunch of spells on one turn, but we are looking to just kind of play a couple spells every turn, so we keep making these 4/4s. And this is how we're doing it with all these different draw spells, especially these like 1 mana ones really get us going. And some extra powerful ones are Mental Note and Thought Scour, which not only mill us 2 cards, like getting our commander closer to being cast for much cheaper, but then just cycle and draw us a card. So these are really powerful. Mental Note, Thought Scour, Ponder Preordain are just like the grease that like keeps a blue deck's engines going. These let you like craft a really strong and consistent opening hand. I love these cards. I put them in every single blue deck because they're so powerful. And then Frantic Search, again, one of my favorite cards. It's the same thing. It's free to cast or better. If you've got a bounce land in play, like you're netting a mana. If you have a cost reduction effect, like the Thunderclap Drake or Primal Amulet. I was also running the Case of the what is it called? Cost reduction. Case of the Ransack Lab. This is a good card too. I just recently cut it because I'm finding that like I never get to the solve effect, and I also have a lot of 3 drops already, but you could certainly run this card. It's really good, I think. But these cost reduction effects make cards like Frantic Search and Snap really powerful because they all of a sudden net you mana, right? Because you tap 2 lands, you cast a Snap, but it only costs you 1 mana. So now you get to untap both lands and you're up a mana. So these effects are really strong, and they really like let you have very powerful turns that are also somehow a little bit unassuming. So be on the lookout for stuff like that. And then just tons of other draw effects, right? Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise are great in this deck. You really don't want to draw both. It's kind of hard to delve 13, but it's actually not that unreasonable to do late game. Yeah, and these are just very strong cards. Like 1 mana draw 3. I hear that's pretty good. There's a card called Ancestral Recall. If you don't know what that does, go ahead and look it up. Banding Commander, though. Sorry, in case you have one, in which case I'm jealous. What's next? Self-mill. So, we've got some other mill effects like Ledger Shredder. You don't need this card. I'm going to talk about some budget considerations later. If you don't have one of these, it's not critical. Like, this is a deck that can very easily be played on a very tight budget. So, don't feel like you have to shell out any money for these cards that you don't have. Just understand what the deck's trying to do based on what we're talking about, and you can figure out what you can replace based on this conversation that we're having. And then counters, this is a blue deck. We are playing a control strategy, a mid-range strategy. We have a lot of counters. If you don't like counters, I wouldn't play this deck because, counters are our removal. We do have some removal, right? We've got a handful of removal. But in general, what we're instead looking to do is set up a board that has strong blockers, 4/4 flyings, and we want to be attacking with those most of the time. But a lot of times you can make one at instant speed, or if you have an effect like Shadow of the Second Sun, another new card that I absolutely love, where you get an extra beginning phase at the end of your turn. The wording on this is ultra confusing, by the way. It says, at the beginning of enchanted players, so you're targeting yourself with this. It's an enchant player, it's an aura. It says, the beginning of enchanted players post-combat main phase. So the beginning of your second main phase, there's an additional beginning phase after this phase. So what this means is, you pass through combat, you enter your second main, this trigger goes on the stack, it says, okay, at the end of this phase, you get an extra beginning phase. And then the reminder text says the beginning phase is the untap, upkeep, and draw steps. So what this means is you have combat, you have second main, you move out of second main into your next beginning step. So it goes combat, second main, untap, upkeep, draw, end step. So you do not get an additional main phase, but you basically get to untap everything. So you untap all your lands, all your creatures, everything. You have an additional upkeep, which matters sometimes, but not often with this deck. But just remember it, if you have something like Search for Escanta out, you get an extra upkeep. So you get to do the Surveil 1 thing again. And then you draw, and then your turn's over. So in this deck, and in every blue deck, TBH, I love this card. This card is really strong because you want to be playing a bunch of stuff on your turn, but you also want to hold mana up for counters and for making more tokens on their turns. So this card's really, really good. It's a new absolute classic for me and a favorite card of mine already, and it's only been out for a week or two. So I guess we'll talk about just how we're gonna end the game now. So I think this deck's pretty easy to play, I would say. It does play at instant speed, so you do have to have some knowledge of the stack, and you have to make decisions on what to counter or not. But in general, you know what you're trying to do. You're just trying to get set up. You're trying to cast 2 spells a turn, so you make tokens, and you're trying to attack for lethal. So that is pretty much what you're going to be doing, and there's not a lot more to know than that. But I do want to talk about the Haymaker or sort of Alpha Strike effects that we have, and there aren't many, and I think they're all focused on these flashback cards mainly. So Snapcaster Mage is just a very flexible card that can let you, sometimes you just play this and cast a Thought Scour on yourself again, and it's you don't need to worry about saving this for the ideal situation. But then there's other games where you feel it's very grindy and you really need to get some good value out of this, so you just have to make that decision on a case-by-case basis. Mizzix Mastery is just a game winner. If you can land this and you have any decently sized graveyard, you're gonna win, because you've got guys that are gonna power up for every non-creature spell you played, including this one, and it's pretty hard to lose if you resolve an overloaded Mizzix Mastery. However, that being said, like, don't be afraid to just cast this for non-overload cost if you need to. Like, sometimes you just have to do that, and you can't always, like, make the optimal play in every game. Let's say you got hit with Bojuka Bog, like, late in the game. That sucks, and, like, sometimes you're just gonna have to play this for value and, like, you know, cast a dig through time and then, like, play Mizzix Mastery to cast it again for free. There's nothing wrong with that. Past in Flames is just redundancy for Mizzix Mastery. Gives all your stuff flashback, lets you have a powerful turn and try to, like, win with an Alpha Strike. You know, it's especially powerful with something like Fierce Guardianship in your graveyard, because, like, you can play this, then this has flashback. You can play it when you need it on your turn when you're trying to, like, Alpha Strike and win. And then Surge to Victory, I just really like this card. I think it's fun, and it is very strong in this deck too. So, like, you can often get a 6 or 7 mana spell with it. That's huge pump for your board, and if you need it, the second effect of when those creatures land and hit someone, you get to cast all those spells. That can be, like, the game ender that you need right here. So this is just a fun card. I think it's, you know, it would probably be, like, optimal to cut this card, because I think it's a little bit slow and it's a little bit, it, like, leaves you a little bit vulnerable, but I think it's really fun and I wouldn't cut it. I think this is a great deck for it. So I think that's mainly all the points I wanted to cover. I guess we'll talk a little bit about the price, and I'm going to just add the price in. I think I've already sorted to lowest, but I'll just do it again just to be in case. Okay, let's just go back to type. So $1,300, however, I'm running a Volcanic Island, which you do not need. You can play, you know, you could play like 17 islands and 15 mountains, and this deck's going to be just fine. Seriously, don't feel like you need these lands. However, if you have them, fetch lands are really good, because first of all, you can find a Thundering Falls very consistently on turn 1, which lets you keep a sketchy hand that maybe has only 1 or 2 land, because you can always surveil one to the graveyard. So the fetch lands are great. Thundering Falls is great if you have it. You know, as many of these dual lands as you have, like, by all means play them, but this is not a deck that needs all of this expensive mana base. You can replace this $1,000 with all basics, and this deck's going to work. It's going to have some hands that are a little bit, like, inconsistent because you drew only one color and you needed the other one, but in general, like, you're going to be just fine. So don't feel like you have to shell out the big bucks for this mana base. It's absolutely not needed. I'm going to sort by price so we can just look at the most expensive cards of each category, and I'll let you know how essential I think it is to the deck. Dragon Tempest, great card, not essential to the deck. It's a good one though, because, like, all of your tokens have haste, and they also get this, like, comes into play damage, you get to ping a creature sort of effect, which can be really powerful. Mystic Remora, if you don't have one, just get one. I go back and forth between, and at the moment, time of this recording, I'm of the opinion that this card is better than Risk Study. Most people disagree with me. I don't care. It's 1 mana. It's practically impossible to pay for. They have to pay 4 every time. No one pays 4. I think once in my Commander career I've had someone pay 4. So they can't do anything about this. Like, yes, Rhystic triggers on every spell, not just non-creature spells, but, like, I have found that Mystic Remora has drawn me so many more cards than resolved Rhystic Studies. It's not even funny. Like, this card is just always under the radar. I mean, it's not under the radar. Everyone knows it's a problem, but, like, they can't do anything about it. And anyway, I don't want to dwell on this, but, like, Mystic Remora, fantastic card. Rhystic Study, also fantastic. The reason I'm not running it is because I just don't like to run it. It's really good. You should play it if you have it and if you like it. I'm just trying to reduce the number of cards that, like, people are annoyed by. I'm trying to like remove the high salt cards from my deck more often than not. But if you just want your deck to be more powerful, play Rhystic Study by all means. Primal Amulet, you don't need this card. It's expensive, it's really good. It flips into a land that copies your spells. You don't need it though. There was a time, there was like quite a while where I was not running it, and like you certainly don't need it. But it's a fun one if you have it. Fierce Guardianship is really, really good. If you don't have one, I would try to get one because like you should have one in your collection. It's worth it. It's so good. That being said, you don't need it. You can run without it. You can run without Deflecting Swat. You don't need Cycryph. You don't need Delayed Blast Fireball. You can replace this with a Chain Reaction or any other like cheap board wipe. You don't need Mystical Tutor. You don't need any of these cards. An Offer You Can't Refuse is excellent. I would try to get it if you don't have it. But any of these, you don't need them. Valakut Awakening is really good in this deck because you're dumping a lot of cards into the graveyard, selectively, and it's also a land if you need it. So this is a good one. I think it's worth investing in if you don't have one. Seagate Restoration, you don't need it. Jessica's Will, you don't need it. You could cut these. You can replace them with any other draw spells that you have. It really doesn't matter. Seagate Restoration's really good, don't get me wrong. Resolving this card, it's pretty hard to lose after that, especially if you have like a Shadow of the Second Sun out where you're just going to untap at the end of your turn anyway and then have a huge hand. But you don't need it. You can replace this with a land. Seriously. And lastly, Snapcaster, really good, you don't need it. Ledger Shredder, same thing, really good, you don't need it. So as you can see, like if you were to cut all those cards, that's like almost all of this. In fact, like I'm just going to do it real quick just so we can see. I'm not going to replace them, I'm just going to remove all these cards that you don't need. If you were to replace these with like cards that are less than $1, you can see like, I'm going to leave Valakut because I think that is really worth it. But like, okay, so let's say this 1,000 is 0, then we're at under $100, right? Because this is 1092 minus 1,000, so that's $90 for the deck. And that deck is still really good and it's still really going to work. So don't be intimidated by the price tags on my decks. I'm running very expensive versions of things. Alright, let's do some mulligan practice with Eris. So here's my opening hand, and what I'd recommend here when we go through this mulligan practice is that you pause the video right now, make your decision about what do you think? Would you keep this hand? You can base it on, like, you can imagine opponents that you play against regularly, like decks that can help really. But like I'd say in a vacuum, just like think, would I keep this hand, yes or no? And then see if your decision aligns with what I end up saying. I'm not saying I'm always right on this stuff, but I'm going to talk through my logic and you can just see how your decision matches up with mine. And that's really going to help you become a better player, because the biggest mistake that I think almost every Magic player makes, especially when they're new, is not taking enough mulligans. So in general, just like make sure you have a good hand, especially in Commander where you get a free mulligan. Don't waste that. Don't be that player who says, I'm going to risk it for the biscuit, blah, 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 blah. Oh my god, a number of times I hear people say that. It's just like roll my eyes so hard. So take your time, make sure you get a good hand. Commander game takes an hour and a half. You really want to like have a terrible game because you didn't want to spend an extra minute shuffling? Get over yourself and just set yourself up for success by like ensuring you have a good hand. And that means taking more mulligans, going to 6, going to 5. I know I sound like a broken record on these videos, but like ensuring you have a good hand is so much more important than anything else. And you have the power to make sure that happens. Are there going to be games where you go to 5 and your 5 ends up being worse than your 7? Of course. That will happen all the time. Not all the time, but like sometimes. And does that mean you made the wrong decision initially? Absolutely not. That's a results-oriented mentality that is going to lose you games. It's going to make your life suck if you have that sort of decision-making process in any aspect of your life. So I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but like, trust the decisions you made, even if they didn't work out. And then, of course, you have more data to work with, right, for next time. But given the circumstances, trust yourself and the decision you made, and you can learn from it, but like, don't say, oh, I should have kept that first hand. No, you shouldn't have. You should have not gotten unlucky and drawn 2 or 3 more bad hands after that. Anyway, so pause the video here, decide if you want to keep this hand. Long story short, I think this hand is extremely keepable, like very solid. So I would certainly keep this. We have only 2 land, and one of them comes into play tapped unless we've got another land. So what are we going to do? So obviously we're going to draw more cards, but like, what you should think about whether you decide to keep a hand like this is like, what can this do? Let's say I only draw 10 mana spells after this, which it's happened to everyone, right? It sucks. We still can do everything we need to with this hand, right? Why? Fiery Fall has basic land cycling, so let's not forget this. This deck's a little tougher than others to mulligan. Just take your time, right? Make sure you're looking at all the abilities of your cards, because it's easy to overlook this and remember, like, okay, this is basically a land. Yeah, it costs 2 mana to get it into my hand, but it's an option, right? So what are we doing? We're going to drop the Stormcarved Coast turn 1, which we don't usually want to do. We want to wait till turn 3 to play this so it comes in untapped. But in this case, we don't have any other turn 1 play, right? So let's just play this out. But basically, we're gonna play land drops, cycle this on turn 2, and then we could just directly wheel on turn 3. We could cast Frantic Search first and then wheel or Windfall. But like, we've got some opening turns here, and the wheel or the Windfall is going to serve us well early because we haven't done a lot. Other players maybe have, and they're going to draw more cards, but like, this is not a good hand except for that we have a path to a wheel that is going to really like get us going for the mid game, which is what we want for this commander, right? We just want to load up the graveyard, get our like opening lands going, and then board wipe and try to win the mid game. So let's play it out. So we'll draw. We even drew another wheel effect, so that's pretty funny. So I think what I would do here is probably just play this land, because we don't need another one of these effects. We already have 3 sort of like redundancies of this effect, so let's, use the flexibility of this land, play it tapped. Go to our next turn. Alright, we drew another land, so maybe we don't need to be on the wheel plan, but we don't really have anything else going on. But we do have the Frantic Search, and sorry for the version, but this is draw 2, discard 2, and untap 2 lands. So we're going to spend turn 2 land cycling this Fiery Fall. Hopefully, like, as I discussed earlier in the deck guide, like, removing some threat assessment from us where players are like, what the hell is that card, and why are you playing it? This must be a noob. Okay, so let's grab a mountain, I guess, because we already have 2 islands in hand. That goes to hand, and then we close and shuffle, move to our next turn. Alright, another bounce land this time. Bounce land's actually really nice with Frantic Search, so I would be tempted to try to like save it for that synergy, but we don't need to do that. We really just need to draw some gas here, right? We could just Windfall right now, or Wheel of Misfortune, but I think like we're better served to start with a Frantic Search. There's no cost to it, right? Because it's like draw 2, discard 2, then untap 3 lands. So draw 2, draw another land, and a Fellwar Stone. Okay, so I think we will keep the bounce land, so let's discard Island. I think we could safely lose. Let's discard Mountain because people knew we had that. I think we could lose one of these because, having both is pretty useless unless one gets countered. Alternatively, you know what? I'd probably just drop another land because we already have 2 other lands, including a bounce land, which is going to return a land to our hand. So, like, yeah, let's just not bother. And now, like, even though it's less efficient than casting a wheel, I think we just play the Mana Rock here because it's better that we lighten our hands a little, and then we can land one of these for more value, right? So we're losing some efficiency here because we have nothing to play on 2. Actually, like, it's pretty silly, but we could run out Snapcaster for tempo, or if like there's a big attack coming at us and we feel like it's worth chumping 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage. since we're just going to wheel this anyway, potentially, right? It's looking extremely likely that we're going to wheel, so, you know, flashing out Snapcaster here for no value looks ridiculous, but, like, might just be worth it when our plan is to follow up on the next turn with one of these wheels, right? So let's see what we get. Yeah, this is not castable right now, like nothing doing for us, so the plan is just, let's play the fetch land. We don't want to play the bounce land because, you know, we don't want another card in hand. We want to wheel for maximum value. So we're going to play whichever one of these makes more sense given opponent's hands. If some opponent has 7 cards, we probably want to just windfall. Otherwise, Wheel of Misfortune is a Wheel of Fortune type effect. I'm not going to go over the details of how this works. You can look it up, but like it's extremely likely that you'll be able to get a new 7 if you want it, and other players get the option to not get it. So let's just assume we can windfall and someone's got 7. So let's go graveyard. Let's tap our mana, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow, we drew no land. Look at that. So good thing we played this land first. So we've got 2 rocks. This is actually a really good 7, despite us having no land. I think we just fetch with the Delta, we play Arcane Signet, and then we probably just drop the fish. Everyone's got a new hand. This is going to be really strong right now. So Mystic Remora comes down. We draw like, you know, 3 to 5 cards before our next turn probably, because people are playing the rocks they drew and they're like, I'm not going to wait. You know, we've got all this mana up. We can pay the cumulative upkeep on this like forever, essentially, right? So this is a really strong hand. Let's just move to the next one. All right. Again, I encourage you to pause the video. Tell me, like, would you keep this hand? And I would definitely keep this hand. This hand looks real good. We've got a turn 1 thought. Oh, we can't actually. So, like, I didn't think this through enough, but like, we can't turn 1 Thought Scour because of the Storm card post. But like, this hand's still great. We've got a turn 3 Factor Fiction with a counter in hand, with a rock in hand, with an Ancient Tomb in hand. This hand's great. So let's just play it out real quick. And we even drew the island. Never not lucky. So let's Thought Scour ourselves. We'll mill 2, we mill Fiery Fall, Brotherhood's End, and draw a land. Fine. Next turn. So we could play Ancient Tomb here, but we actually don't need to, right? We can just play like Gaia Reach Sanitarium or Mountain. Run out Felwarstone. We've got this up if we need it, if someone's playing blue. Go to next turn. So now we have a choice. If we're against blue players and we're worried about a counter, we could play the Ancient Tomb, so we can leave a mana up for Offer You Can't Refuse. Alternatively, if we're more worried about our life total, we could just play Stormcarved Coast and then land a Factor Fiction. So let's just see what the piles look like. We'll make the piles assuming we don't know what our hand is. So we reveal the top 5, we pick an opponent to build 2 piles. We don't have an opponent right now, so we're just going to do it ourselves. So how important is the wheel to us? Well, we don't know that when we're the opponent, except that we know we have 5 cards in hand, right? But they probably see this as a big threat because they realize, like, wow, your commander is 10 mana, which is true. And, you know, 5 mana draw 10 is very strong. So I think as an opponent, I would go, okay, I'll give, you know, Imposing Grandeur. We'll probably put a land with that, and then maybe like put these 3. So we definitely want to split up these 2 big draw spells, right? So we don't want to put those together. I mean, you know, Factor Fiction's tough. Like, maybe you do want to put these together because they're actually not that strong together. You don't want to be casting both of these, right? You're only cast one or the other. So actually splitting these does not make sense, having thought about it a little bit more. And having additional land is probably also less powerful when you have these like huge draw spells. So we'll put the land there, and then these 2. And then I think from my perspective, if I saw these piles, I would think, well, my hand's got no gas at all, right? Like, this hand does nothing. So I think we really want this pile because we want one of these 2 big draw spells. So let's take this pile. And assuming we cast that on opponent's end step. Oh, we also, what I should have thought about is what cards are going to the graveyard too, because that matters for our commander, right? So we're getting a 4 from the Factor Fiction. We already have a 3. And do we have a 1? We already have a 1. So actually, like, this pile we chose to put in the graveyard was the worst pile for us because we already had all those mana values. That being said, I think we have a 3, 4, 1, 6. Yeah, so we already have 4 different mana values in our graveyard. Our commander's already at maximum reduction, so it didn't even matter. Let's just try another hand because that one's pretty much done. Alright, pause it. Tell me if you'd keep this hand. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Definite keeper. This hand's great. If you didn't realize that Seagate Restoration is a land that can come in untapped if we want for 3 life, shame on you. Take your time and make sure you're like understanding what all the cards do before you make a mulligan decision. If you did catch that and you said, yes, I would keep this hand because it looks like the best hand of all time, maybe not. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but this hand is phenomenal. Easy keep, really strong. We have an expressive iteration turn 2. We have 2 mana rocks. We have a cost reducer. We have a like huge draw spell. Couldn't ask for much more with this. We have a land cycler to find another land. This hand is just crazy good. I'm just going to go to the next hand because I think that one plays out very easily. Alright, we're not spending any time on this. We have 0 land, so this is an easy mulligan. I hope no one got that one wrong. So this is our second 7, so we want to think about it in that light. Do we keep it? I would say this is a definite keep. This looks like a good hand. It's much better than going to 6. We have a like hand refill. Like we don't have a lot of action, right? We have 2 mana rocks, 3 land, Snapcaster, which is not a good early game card, and then a Valakut Awakening. Like the Valakut Awakening obviously saves this hand because we can just exchange whatever we don't need by the time we have the mana to cast it for what we do need. So let's just play it out and see how it goes. So we have no turn 1 play, so there's no harm in just playing the Thundering Falls. We'll Surveil 1. Do we want a Varen? Do we want to draw a Varen? I don't think so. It's a phenomenal card, but it's more of a late game card, and I don't think it's worth holding it. I think, when we end up casting Valakut Awakening, we would just be discarding this anyway. So I think the play is just to bin that and hope we draw like, another mana rock or something that we could play before we Valakut Awakening. Next turn, dig through time's nice. So I think we just run out of basic and we play a rock. And then we have no 1-drop, so we go to our next turn. Mystic Sanctuary. We already have 2 islands, which is nice, but we don't have 3, so that's something to think about. We also have no spells to put on top of our deck, so no big loss. I think the play here is just... I think the play is to run out the Thran Dynamo, even though we're not using that 3 mana, which does suck, but it's... landing this on turn 3 is just really good, especially when we have Valakut Awakening to, like, get a fresh hand next turn. I think it's the best play. Alternatively, if like the board is feeling very aggressive and you really just like need an answer sooner, Valakut is a fine play. But in a vacuum, I think the play is just slam the Dynamo and like just keep setting up slowly here. Next turn. Alright, still no like major gas, so to speak, so I think now is the time for the Valakut Awakening. The question is, what are we ditching? We're definitely ditching all 3 land. When you're doing a spell like this, just drop all your land. You're almost certainly going to draw another one. Don't keep 1 land when you're Valakut Awakening. Like, just don't. Not worth it. Do we want to keep Snapcaster is the question. I don't think so. I think we just bin it. We can't really get it back from the graveyard. This deck doesn't do that, but like, don't be too hyper focused on trying to get max value out of this stuff. Like, this is just gonna sit in our hand dead for a long time, and we just don't need it right now. On the other hand, like, we have a lot of mana, so like keeping this and recasting Valakut Awakening if we still don't draw anything good is... maybe it is worth it. I don't know, I'm kind of talking myself into it. We have a ton of mana. This is turn 4. We have 1, 2, 3. We're going to play another land, 4 land, plus 3 from Dynamo. So we have 8 mana on turn 4. I think, especially given that we have Dig Through Time in the graveyard, or in hand, maybe we do keep Snapcaster, we just dump these 3. I think it's worth playing a land first, too, because we're guaranteed that we hit our land drop this turn then, so let's play the War Room. I think the Gaia Reach is really only for early game if we're trying to like reduce the cost of the commander, but I think that's not going to be an issue with this particular hand, so let's just play the War Room. Let's tap the Thran Dynamo for triple colorless, and then this for red. We'll float a colorless, we'll cast Valakut Awakening, we'll pitch these 2 cards. Where did they go on the bottom? I think on the bottom. Okay. Bottom. And then we'll draw 3. So it's a good thing we played a land, right? Because we didn't get one. I mean, we could have just snapped. We have a colorless floating. So yeah, we could still have played Snapcaster. No, if we didn't have a land, we couldn't have done that. So yeah, definitely a good thing we played Snapcaster. We have only 1 mana value in our graveyard, so our commander costs 6 right now. We have 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, plus the 1 floating. So I think playing Eris this turn is not going to happen. So what I would do instead is maybe board wipe, right? Depending on what the board looks like, this could be a strong play. Just do 3 damage to everything. That would mean we had 2 mana left over, so we could play the Izzet, Signet. I don't think we can afford... well, if we didn't need to play this, like there weren't any threatening boards in terms of creatures, then I think we just run out the Archmage. We could even like go... we've got the colorless floating from the Dynamo, so we could tap that War Room, play the Signet, and then for 4 mana, just run out the Archmage. It's very vulnerable, right? Someone might kill it. They probably should kill it, but they won't always. So, I think I'd just run it out here and hope it lives. Probably won't, but whatever. We don't need it. We have Dig Through Time to refill our hand. I think we're fine. And we have Snapcaster to recast Valakut should we need it. So, oh, beautiful. Like, this is what you want to see. So yeah, the rest of this hand, like, plays itself. You know, if you're against blue players, like, I don't know if I just run this out right now, because, like, you get devastated by a counter on this. But if you resolve this, it's over, because it's like, right, 6 mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yep. We have 3 left over. Let's, you know, if this had died, let's see if we can cast this and do 3 all creatures, and then we untap everything. I don't know how to do that. Untap everything. Upkeep, we have nothing. Draw for turn. Pass, we have all our mana up. We can Dig Through Time. We can look at the top 7, find some more gas, right? We get, wow, we didn't really find much gas at all. So I guess we take like Arcane Denial just to hope to draw into more, and Mental Note. Alternatively, we could take Blasphemous Act if we felt like we needed it. These go on the bottom. This goes to the graveyard, and we could cast it again with Snapcaster. Try to find something else. We could Mental Note first. Mill 2, draw. Ledger Shredder's nice. I think you get it. Let's do one more, and then we'll wrap this up. Alright, do you keep this hand? Cue Jeopardy, Final Jeopardy music. I guess we keep it, right? Because we've got Thunderclap Drake into Windfall. That seems good. I'm not like super excited about this hand, but like it's fine. Landing a turn 3 Windfall, cost reduced Windfall, seems good. So draw it. Ooh, Iteration's nice. Although, like, it's a little bit of a bummer because you typically want to play the spell on turn 3, so you can play, you know, how you play this is like you assume you're going to hit a land, and that land is the card you want to put into exile so you can play this turn. You don't have to play it that way, but like if you run this out on turn 2, you're typically not going to be able to like utilize the card that you exiled. So this is not, even though it's a 2-mana spell, it's not a spell to play on turn 2 unless you have a very specific reason to do so, or you like desperately need to hit a 3rd land and you just want to ensure that you get it into your hand. And that's like, I wouldn't make that play unless you feel like you really need to. So we'll just do one more because I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so pause it and tell me, would you keep this hand? I mean, I hope everyone said definitely yes. This hand looks great. We have Stormkiller Artist to set us up for a really strong late game. Any hand that has a turn 2 playable Search for Resculpt, I think is worth it. It's just so easy to like craft your hand in a really solid way when you have this. Let's find a more questionable hand and see. Okay, so this is a good one, I think. What do you think? Would you keep this hand? Well, we've got 3 land, right? We have the Pathway, the Sink into Stupor, which can be played as a land, and the Otawara, which can be played as a land. You know, ideally we don't want to play these 2 as land, but like we shouldn't hesitate to if we need to. What else do we have? We have 2 Mana Rocks. We have a Cost Reducer, which is, you know, their mana source, and then we have Dragon Tempest, which is like a setup spell. I think for me this is a definite mulligan. This hand has no action. Like we have no draw. If we get unlucky and draw our next 3, 4, 5 draws are land or mana rocks, this hand just totally peters out and does absolutely nothing and has no way of finding any more gas. I would 100% mulligan this as my first 7 or even my second 7. I would even mulligan down to 5 versus keeping this hand. That's how much I dislike it. So something to think about. If you don't agree with what I just said, I think you're wrong, and I think you should take more mulligans. I know that's a tough decision to go to 5 versus keeping a hand like this that is like playable, but this hand just does nothing in a lot of scenarios. And like, do you ever want to be in a situation like, I like to plan for the worst case scenario, not the best case scenario, because I find that is what happens to me a lot more often, in my opinion, you know? So should the worst case scenario happen and you draw only land here, you're never getting out of this bind. I just hate this hand. So just my opinion. Let's go to our second 7, since that was only our first 7. This hand has the exact same problems as that one. It's a tiny bit better because we have a fetch land that lets us find the Thundering Falls so we can surveil one and like have another look at finding like something that actually does something. And we've got an Invert Polarity, which could potentially steal a spell that can like get us some advantage, but like this is not a keep. I would go to 6 over this, so let's go to 6. Alright, pause it. Would you keep this one? This is a 6, don't forget. I think as a 6, we keep this. It's not great either, unfortunately. However, we've got 3 land, we've got a draw spell that we can eventually cast, we've got a cost reducer, we've got some interaction in the meantime. This hand works. I'd probably mulligan this if it was my first 7, that being said. Although, I don't know, like the fetch land might and the Ancient Tomb might make it worth it, because let's just play it out. So what do we bottom? Pretty tough one on what to bottom here. I think we go with the Pongify because I would normally say Chaos Warp, but we have the Thunderclap Drake to reduce it. So I think the Pongify, either one of these is going to be good. So whatever you prefer, I think either works. Let's just do the Pongify. So we'll bottom that, draw for turn. Stubborn Now is a counter, so we're going to run out the fetch, we're going to crack it, we're going to find Thundering Falls so we can surveil and hopefully find something we need. Mental Journey. So this equals another basic. We don't want this, and we want it in our graveyard. So because it's the 6 in our graveyard, that's great. Yeah, we can get it in our graveyard by basic land cycling it, but we have a different turn to play, so we don't really want to be doing this next turn anyway. All right, we drew a Thought Vessel. That's not bad. I think the play is definitely Ancient Tomb into Thought Vessel into Thunderclap Drake. Nice. Next turn. Alright, so what's the situation now? We've got 1 mana value in our graveyard, so our commander costs 6. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. I think the situation is not great here. We could cast a Dig Through Time. I think that's probably the play. Don't forget it's reduced by 1, so it costs 7 mana, right? Because after the reduction, we've got 2 in the graveyard we can delve away. So although it's pretty slow, I think that's the play. This is only turn 3, so it's really like casting a Dig Through Time on turn 3 is no joke. So I think we just do that. And are we taking too much damage with Ancient Tomb? No. Just use it. Seriously. Aside from not taking enough mulligans, the other big mistake people make, they're too concerned about their life total. Life total, yeah, it's important. If you go to 0, you lose. If you go to 1, you don't lose. Just remember that. So we have to delve away these cards, unfortunately, but I feel like we can't afford to do nothing this turn, so we're replacing our 6 with an 8 at least, and we're getting to see a lot of options here. I'd love to see the wheel, right? Double wheel. Okay, so we've got, I mean, we really want to land, but I think, you know, decide what you would take here. I think pausing here and like thinking about what you would take is a good thing to do in this situation. We're casting this Dig Through Time right before our turn, right? It was an instant, so we waited till the person's end step right before us, and we said, okay, Dig Through Time on end step. This is what we see. What do we take? Hopefully you've made your decision, and what I'm going to go with is, I don't know, I'm still thinking about it. You know, it's definitely going to be one of these two, right? Windfall or Wheel, depending on how many cards opponents have in hand. If they have at least 6, if someone has 7 or someone has 6, then I think we take the Windfall. Otherwise, we take the Wheel. So let's just assume we can get the Windfall. And then after that, to me, it's either the Fellwar Stone or the land. I think we take the Fellwar Stone. It depends on what the board states look like, right? If we can afford to just waste our next turn, like running out another mana rock, wheeling, and then maybe playing our commander, I think that's the strongest play in terms of like long-term setup, not in terms of power play on this turn. But we just want to like get another mana rock out. I think that's really good. We're gonna draw a land, right? But if, you know, we could also take Stella or Archmage or Robe as development pieces into Wheel. This is a tough one. It's really board state dependent. I think it's pretty hard to make this decision without knowing what's going on the board. I think those are the considerations though. So like in a vacuum, I say like we would take either Stella or Fellwar Stone in addition to the Windfall. So let's just go with the Stone, whatever. We'll bottom this stuff. And then go to our next turn. Alright, we drew another mana rock, unfortunately. But that's okay. So, you know, now we can just, like, we could just develop both mana rocks, I think, right? 4 mana, run out the Chalice for 2, with 2 counters on it, right? Play the Fellwar Stone for 2 mana, and then Windfall for 2 mana, because of the cost reduction. Right? Drop our hand. Say we draw 6. We did draw 1 land, thankfully, so we can play our land drop. And then we have, oh, too bad we can't cast Frantic Search. That would be real good right now. Because if we could, we untap Ancient Tomb. It costs only 2 mana, so we're netting 2 mana by playing this, and then we could play Jeska's Will. But we didn't quite get there. However, that being said, this is an ultra strong opener. This is turn 4. We have, look at all this mana we have in play. We have Cost Reducer. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if we play a land drop next turn, that'll be 10 mana heading into turn 5. That's a W from my perspective. Like, it's hard to lose this game unless you're like about to die from combat damage right now, in which case we probably wouldn't have gone this Mana Rock route. So hopefully that was helpful. Enjoy the game. I'm going to post a game right after this one, and leave me a comment, a like, a subscribe if you enjoy this content. Let me know if you have any feedback. I'd love to hear from my fans, and thanks a lot. Have a good one. Enjoy the deck.
Queen of Hearts. Let's see. 5, 6, 8, 7.
Okay.
This could be.
What does Prowess do again? I just need a refresher on that.
If I play a non-creature spell, it gets +1/+1 till end of turn.
Ah, okay.
I'm Mulligan. Jesus. I should have never looked. Sorry, we've got you there. Seven. 5. Oh, this looks really bad. Again. No, one Mulligan. Jesus, this is bad. Whatever, let's just run it. I might watch you guys.
Okay, everyone's ready?
Yep. Good, go.
Alright, good luck, have fun. Draw. Play Arid Mesa and pass turn. I'm going to crack it for a Surveil land. Here go, Owl Gogoth.
Yes, sir. I'll just play a Prismatic Vista and pass.
This just got better. Shotgun and Godless Shrine, tab 1 for Soul. Pass turn.
Alright, draw. Forest and pass.
I'm going to Surveil one. Keep that on top. Tap, upkeep, draw. Training Center. I'll tap 1 and cast a Thought Scour, targeting myself. It's mill 2 and then draw a card. Mill Wheel of Misfortune, Thunderclap Drake, draw a card, and pass.
End of turn, I'll crack Vista. And go get Forest. Sorry. Alright. Draw. And Shifting Woodland. I have a forest, so it comes in untapped. Pass.
Untap, I'll keep you in draw. Guess we'll play this Plains. And I'll tap 4 for this Wall of Reverence. Being my instep, I may gain life and defeat the power of target creature you control. I'll move to instep, target it, and gain life.
Draw. Plains. Tap for green and 1 for Scavenging Ooze. And I will pass.
Tap, upkeep, draw. Play an island, just land for turn. Cast search for Azcanta and pass.
Alright. Untap, upkeep, draw. I'll shock in a Steam Vents. And tap 1 green and 2 other for Scoot Swarm. And pass.
Fantastic, keeping a draw. Get that out of my ear, sorry. I'll play this Mortuary Mire, comes in attack, no creature in the graveyard to target. And I'll tap 2, play this Resculpt Guild Mage. And I move one step trigger, target Resculpt Guild Mage, and gain 2 life. Next turn.
Tap. Draw. Play Plains. Tap 2 for Mono Scallion. 1/1 enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter. I can pay 1. I'm going to do remove a +1/+1 counter and deal 1 damage to Scout Swarm.
And it will go to the yard.
Nice.
Just found that insect token I've been looking forward to.
We'll go to combat and we'll swing 2 over to Justin.
Does it have Death Touch?
Do you have creatures or are those all?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
those
a
are both
creature. Yeah. It's a 1/6 and a 2/2.
1/6 and 2/2. Yeah, no, I won't swing then. Just Surf City, what do you got? Is that a creature?
No, it's a search for Azcanta. It's an enchantment.
Alright, I'll swing 2 up your way.
Sure. Take 2.
And then pass turn.
And tap upkeep, I'll surveil 1. Gonna have to put that in the graveyard, sadly. It's a Stormfront Artist. Draw for turn. Okay. Tap 3. I'll cast the Everflowing Well. It's an artifact. When it ETBs, I'll mill 2, then draw 2. Mill Steam Vents, Stubborn Denial, and then draw 2. Okay. I'll play a Blooded Strand as land for turn. That is all I can do. Yes.
Alright. Tap, upkeep, draw. Myriad Landscape tapped. I can sack it for 2 and search up to 2 basics. And I'll tap 3 for Burnished Heart.
All right.
And you're good.
Tap up, keep and draw. I will play this Reliquary Tower. And tap 5. I'll play Krav. Move to his step, while River's trigger, Krav, I'll give him 3 life. So you can.
Follow me? Alright. Tap. Draw. So he plays. Tap 4, 3. 3 white for Mentor of the Meek. Surf, what do you have in your graveyard?
Was Thought Scour, Wheel of Misfortune, Thunderclap Drake, Stormkiller Artist, Stubborn Denial.
We'll tap for a green and we'll exile the Stormkiller Artist.
Okay.
As a creature, right? Yep. So he'll get a +1 counter. I will pass the turn there, no combat.
Okay, end step, I'll sacrifice Flutter Strand. Oh. Just in my hand. Oh, it's in my graveyard. Whoops. Sorry, guys. Just get an island. Alright. On top, upkeep. We'll do the Search for Escanta first. Put that in the graveyard, and then this will check if I have 8 permanents. I'm pretty sure I don't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, nothing doing there, but this will flip into a land. Because I have 7 or more cards. We found it. Right, draw for turn. I'll play a Wooded Foothills as my land for turn. I have 2 different mana values in my graveyard, so my commander costs 4 less. It's not enough. Less. I will tap 6. Oh, I have to crack this Wooded Foothills actually. Get Volcanic Island. Okay, and then tap 6, I'm going to cast Shadow of the Second Sun. Enchanting myself. So basically what it does is gives me an extra beginning phase at the end of my turn. So after my second main phase, I go to an additional untap, upkeep, draw, and then end step. There's no additional main phase. So if that's good, then I will go to my end step, but before that I untap, upkeep, draw, and then untap.
Untap, upkeep, and draw. Play Forest. I will just go to end step on that and say go.
Okay. We untap. Upkeep and draw. Bring this for second sanctuary. Tap. Do that level. Yeah. I guess we'll tap 5 and tip to cast the Sunscorched Regent.
What's that one do?
Whenever opponent casts a spell, I gain a life and he gets a +1/+1 counter.
Yikes.
No response.
I'll respond.
I have no response.
I'll respond. I'll cast a Factor Fiction in response. I'll target you, Cam. Do you know how this works?
Nope. What's it do?
Okay. So I'm going to make a pile of 5 cards, or I'm going to reveal the top 5. You separate them into 2 piles, and they can help you if you want. And then I get to choose which pile goes to my hand and which goes to the graveyard. So let me know if you can't click. You should be able to click on all these to read what they do. But
So I see anger.
Big Score, Blasphemous Act, Anger, Command Tower, and Fiery Fall.
And then, so they go with a hand or graveyard?
You make 2 piles. I choose which pile I get. The other pile goes to the graveyard.
Alright, so
anger.
anger.
What you want to do is separate the best 2 cards, what you think are the best 2, and then like finish it off from there.
I was gonna say anger, and Blasphemous Act.
And keep in mind that anger wants to go to the graveyard. You know.
Yeah,
that, right?
that's fine.
Okay. So what? Sorry, one more time.
Anger, Blasphemous Act, and is that that's Big Score? Yep. I'll put those 3: Big Score, Anger, and Blasphemous Act in one pile.
Like this?
Yep. And the other 2 that way.
Okay, I'll take this pile. And I have no other response for your region.
All right. Attack step. We'll swing 5 at you. Surf City.
Okay. I will take 5.
3 of the commander damage.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Gotcha.
Then I will move to end step. While a reference trigger, I'll target Sunscorched Regent. I'll gain 4 life.
Alright, I have something on end step.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Which commander was that? Regna?
No, it was Krav.
Okay. On your end step, I'm going to cast Resculpt on Scavenging Ooze.
Yep, what's that do?
It will get exiled, and you get a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token.
Alright.
Gain a life.
Untap draw. Green and white to play my commander. Kudo. Any response?
I'm gonna have one if you don't serve.
Pass priority.
Alright. I'll just go ahead and sack my burn chart. Ping 3. And go get 2 basics tapped. And I'll get 2 islands.
Any other response, or is that it?
Nope. Nothing.
Alright. So everything's 2/2 bear now. On cast for that, it is a 2-power creature. For the Mentor of the Meek, I'll tap, pay 1, and draw a card. I'll play a land for turn. Fortified Village. I don't have anything to reveal, so that's untapped. That's a 2/2 now. That's a 2/2. That's 2/2. 2/2. Okay. I think the token. I'll just swing over to Alagoth.
4.
That's 2/2.
Oh, I'll take 2.
And then that's all I'll do for combat. I will pass turn after that.
Now, does Kudo see any of the battlefield triggers, or?
What do you mean battle?
Like, I know on cast triggers you'll get the response, but say if I were to play my Wanderer, I don't get the Cascades route.
No, everything's in addition to its regular types. It's just in addition to what it regularly is.
Yeah, it doesn't take away abilities.
It just turns it into a bear.
It just overrides the power and toughness.
It's okay. I got it, just like humility.
Yeah, the creatures still do what they do.
Yep.
Alright, upkeep. I don't have enough. I have 7, so this doesn't move. Draw for turn. How much mana you have, Alagoth?
I have 2 untapped green sources, but
So you have
totally I
7
have
total?
7.
So Maelstrom Wanderer comes out next turn.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I have. If I get one more land, I will be able to cast it.
Scary. Alright, I'll play Island as land for turn. I have 4 different mana values in my graveyard, so my commander costs 2. So I will pay 2 for it. And then I'll pay 2 more for a Talisman of Creativity. And that's my second spell of the turn, so I will make a Dragon Elemental creature token. And yeah, I guess I should do this now. Tap 4, cast Archmage Emeritus. So whenever I cast or copy an instant or sorcery, I draw a card. Alright, nothing can attack, so I'll move to end step and I'll go untap, upkeep, and draw. And I have 7 cards in hand, I'll pass.
Alright, untap, upkeep, and draw through. We'll play Alchemist's Refuge for my land drop. Do you have counter spells? Question. Let's see. Okay. Here to play Magic. Steam Vet Red.
I won't mess with it if you don't mess with me this turn.
I will do my best.
Okay.
Alright, so red, blue, green, then 5 to play Maelstrom. All creatures I have haste, and then I Cascade. Nissa, who shakes the world off the first Cascade. And Avenger of Syndicare off the second.
Hold on. Let me read what Nissa does. Your forests have for double. Okay.
So,
That's what it.
and when Zender card enters, I get 8 plants. I don't have 8 of them, but there it is. Total amount. And here's Zender. I will tick up Nissa and turn one of my forests into a 3/3. I will say. Let's see. Anything else? Nope. That's everything I got. I'll skip. Or pass my turn.
Not attacking.
Nah, not this one.
Okay.
Untap. Upkeep and draw. No to land. Six. Tip to cast Regna.
Sure.
No flyers. Out of the rough.
No flyers and no reach.
I'm swinging. I'm moving combat. Swing 10 in the air at Mesa.
10 in the air. This.
That has 10 counters on it?
It's got 8. So
8?
two,
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2/2.
Yeah, it gets +1 every time anyone casts a spell.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did.
I'm gonna move the instep. Trigger. I'll target the Scourge Regent, and I'll gain 10 life and pass turn.
Oops. Tap, draw.
Don't you make 2 warriors also?
No, because it was an instep trigger, so Nissa won't see the life gain on the instep. It's got to be dual the turn.
Well,
I
yeah,
looked
but
it up.
no,
earlier.
you can stack. You can stack it so that the first one goes off, you gain life, and then the second one goes off, and it checks after.
Well, I read the rulings on it, and it specifically said if you gain life doing instep, it doesn't count.
You read that on Gatherer?
Yeah, I just read it just to make sure.
Definitely seems wrong to me, but okay.
So
It's your card, so that's fine.
Tap for 3. Play Ghostly Prison.
Ugh, that's annoying. I'll respond.
Yep.
I'm getting life.
I'll tap 4 and cast Big Score. So I'll draw a card on cast from Archmage. And then I will, as an additional cost to cast, discard a card. Discard Anger. And then I'll draw 2 and make 2 treasures. Treasures, and then I will continue to respond once I find my treasure tokens. I'll get them in a minute. How big is the region? Justin?
Sorry, it's 11/11.
Okay. I will. Don't have enough. Ghostly Prison. Okay. I'll pay 3. You have 2 mana available? You know what? Like, yeah, I gotta do this because I need to cast a spell. I'll cast Sink into Stupor on that. So just return it to your hand. On the Sunscorch region. The Ghostly Prison will resolve. It's just gonna bounce to your hand, but you'll get to gain life first.
Yeah, gain life. Sure.
And I'll draw a card on cast. And I'll also make another guy. Alright. No other response. Ghostly Prison's good.
Alright. Needing the mana. Go to combat. Send you got all those bugs. How many insects do you have, Alagoth?
They're
8
plant tokens, so they're 8 2/2s. Yep.
And then they'll be 2/2s. Yep. I'm just gonna pass turn and step past turn there.
In your turn, I'll make 2 Roman warriors. Put it in life.
Oh, it's every turn. Jesus.
Is that every turn? Holy shit.
Yes, it's each instance.
That seems like a problem.
not the 8 plant tokens. Better don't get bigger.
I think your board is much scarier.
I'm worried.
Definitely draw. Okay, what are we doing? Tap 2. Cast a Felwar Stone. That's 1 prowess trigger. And sure, tap 1 more. Yeah, I should do this. 1 more for a mental note, targeting myself. It's mill 2 then draw a card, but I'll draw a card from Archmage first. And I'll make another Dragon Elemental. And this one just came in. That's 2 prowess triggers. So mill 2, Misty Rainforest, Ancient Tomb, and draw a card. And I'm gonna go to combat now. 6, 8, jeez. I will send all these at you, Justin.
3.
This is a 2/2. Or sorry, this is a 4/4. These are 4/4s. This one is a 2/2.
Why are they 4/4s?
They have prowess.
Okay. So how much altogether?
It's a total of 14, 4 of which is commander.
Alright. Yeah, I'll take it. I'll go to 54.
4, and 2. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Second main. I'll pay 1. Oh, actually, I should try to draw land. Alright, I'm going to pay 1 blue, and I'm going to delve away some cards, I think. Yeah. I'm going to cast a Treasure Cruise. I will delve away. Just a minute, I gotta count. You know what, I'll just hit some lands, whatever. I don't care about flipping this thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 cards. So I'll draw 1 from Archmage, and then I will draw 3 from Treasure Cruise. Okay. I'll play a land for turn. It'll be a Desolate Lighthouse. And I'm going to cast, for 1 red, a Blasphemous Act.
There it is.
Your response. I'm gonna pay 1.
I'll draw a card and cast.
I guess you got priority. Your responses.
No responses.
Okay. I'll pay 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll sack all 6 of these, draw 6 cards, gain 6 life.
Sure.
Alright. I have no response.
I will put my commander back in the command zone.
Sounds good. Same here.
Yeah.
Right. And pay 1, cast a Soul Ring. And then I'll tap 2. I have mana values 8, 9, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4 of plenty. So my commander costs 2. Play. 3 mana left. Pay 3. Someone's blue, right? Yeah, I'll give up. Okay.
Yeah, blue.
I'll play Electric Shredder. And finally, I'll move to end step. Untap. Upkeep, I'll check this. I don't think I have it. Draw. And then I have to discard to hand size, but I'll pass.
Tap. Upkeep and draw. Play Wooded Foothills for turn. For land drop. I'm just gonna go ahead and crack that now. And search for a land. And then I'll say go.
That's it?
Yeah, I'll get a Stomping Grounds tap.
Alright. Draw. Okay. Play Swamp. And Fumigate.
What does that one do?
Destroy all creatures all day, 1 life for each creature destroyed this way.
Sure.
Okay. I'll go to 2. I'll just play this for the loss of core and non-plastics.
Tap draw. Alright, I'm gonna tap for white and 2 for a generous gift. I'm a shadow of the second sun.
Now that I can't abide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How much mana do you have?
2.
I will cast Mystic Confluence. I'll choose the modes of counter target spell unless it pays 3 and draw 2.
Responses.
No responses.
Nope.
No.
Draw 2.
And I will, after you're done doing that, tap for white and 1 for Nyxborn Unicorn. Has Mentor. It's 2/2. I will pass.
Okay. On your end step, I will activate the Escanto, the Sunken Ruin. So it lets me look at the top 4, reveal a non-creature, non-land, put it into my hand, the rest on the bottom. Okay, I'll take Surge to Victory. And then I'll go to hand. 3 mana. Do I want to do this? No, don't care. Untap. Upkeep. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Still not enough. Draw for turn. Like Plaza of Heroes as land for turn. I've been tracking, so I have 8 mana values in my graveyard, so my commander still costs 2.
Gotcha.
Play my commander.
Costs more than 2, right? How many times did it die?
This is the 3rd time I'm casting him from the command zone, so he costs 10 by default. He would cost 16 right now. 12. No. He would, yeah, 16. That's the 4th time I'm casting him, including the 1st. So 16, but I have 8 different mana values in my graveyard, so his cost is reduced by 16, but it can't go below blue-red.
Okay.
Cool. Do you want me to show you, or do you guys? Cool. Okay.
You're good.
You're good.
Okay. So that's 1, and then I guess we ball in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll cast a Seagate Restoration. So it's going to draw me cards equal to the number of cards in my hand plus 1, and I have no max hand size the rest of the game.
Any responses?
No
8
response.
cards in hand. Alright, I'll make a guy on my 2nd spell. I will draw 9. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I have no max hand size. And I have an additional mana value. Alright. These have haste from anger. He'll have 1 extra prowess trigger from the Seagate Restoration. This one will not have that. I'll pay 2 and cast a... Is it Ziggurat? And anyone have any lands that do anything interesting? You have Shifting Woodland, I can activate that.
Mirrored Landscape and Alchemist Refuge.
Alchemist Refuge. Oh, that I like. Okay.
Well, you gotta pay a green and a blue source.
Yep, that's fine. I'll tap 1, 2, 3, and I'll play Copy Land, targeting Alchemist Refuge. So this will, it's an enchantment, but it turns into a land, except it's still an enchantment. So I'll have an Alchemist Refuge, and I'll write it on here in a minute. And then I'll go to combat, and I'm going to send these at you, Justin. This is a 7/7 commander and a 6/6 Regna.
It says Death Touch. You do know that,
They're
right?
both flying.
Oh, they fly. Okay, sure. How much altogether?
13 total, 7 of it
All
is
right.
commander. Alright. Move to end step, untap, upkeep, draw, and pass.
Into your step. I will crack my Myriad. Pay 2, sack it, get 2 basics, share type. 2 mountains. Untap. Upkeep, draw. Play a forest return, and I will attempt to cast my commander, which will cost me 10. Any responses?
Nope. You can have it.
Maelstrom Wanderer. Cascade, Cascade. First Cascade is Growing Rights.
It's
I
a
will
good
do
one.
the top 4, reveal a creature among them, put it in my hand. Did you reveal them all? Alright, just reveal the creature. I will reveal Rebel Hulk. And rest in the bottom of anyone. And second cascade. Katiova. Not the most explosive. Yep, I got nothing. That's right.
On your end step, I'll do a care. Do we have anything to cast? You're good. Go ahead. You're on mute,
Hello?
Justin.
Hello?
Sorry. I apologize. Sure, let's see here. Tap 2, I guess. How the Lord would I like this? Just want me 2 for that. Do 2. Yeah, tap 2. I'll play Dexos, Blessed by the Sun. Pain of Life on ETG. Tap another 2. Play Karlov with the Ghost Council.
I'll respond to that one. Don't like that guy.
Alright.
I'll null elemental blast.
What is that?
Counter target multicolored spell or destroy target multicolored permanent. I have to tap it colorless.
Alright, I'm done. Faster.
Okay, on your end step, I will cast a Mystical Tear. And I'll make a dragon.
I'm just done. Y'all have a good one. I'm out.
You're scooping?
Yep.
Later.
Have a good one. Tap draw. Play forest.
I'll get a Chaos Warp that will go on top of my library.
Chaos Warp, right?
Yes, it's right here.
Alright. Let's see. I'll play. Shit, I can't do both. Yeah, I can do this. 2 green and 1 champion and Lampbolt.
Sure.
The green, white, and 1 for Selvala Explorer returned.
Great.
For your champion. Yeah, no combat. Pass turn.
Alright, and step. Tap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll cast Mental Journey. So just draw 3 for 6 mana. 1, 2, 3. And then I will pay 3. Cast Chaos Warp. Target Ghostly Prison.
Yep.
So you'll shuffle it in, and then you flip the top. If it's a permanent, it goes directly into play. And I'll make another one of these guys.
Shit, I dropped 1.
I'm also going to activate this as Kanto the Second Ruin. Top 4.
Alright, so cut and flip. It is not, it's an instant.
Okay, so it stays on top.
So it stays on top. Alright.
Yep. Alright, I used Escanta to put a counter spell into my hand. Upkeep, draw. Alright, I will try not to drag this out. I'll cast Surge to Victory. So that is exiles a instant or sorcery from my graveyard. We'll choose... Actually, I guess I'll hold priority on that and just cast something else so I can get another guy. I'll cast a Pongify on any flyers on either board.
No flyers.
No flyers.
Okay. Pongify Tatiovo.
It is an 8.
Yep, and then I'll cast Surge to Victory. I will exile whatever huge thing I have. Blasphemous Act. Wait, that's stupid. Oh, I don't have to cast it. Okay, that's fine. I'll do the Blasphemous Act. So, Surge to Victory says, creatures I control get +X+0, where X is that card's mana value, so it's a 9. And if a creature I control deals damage to a player, I can cast that spell without paying its mana cost. So, I will go to combat. These are all... I played 3 non-creature spells. One of them will be slightly smaller, but they're all 7/7s plus 9, 16. So that's 32, 32, and... Wait, 16. Yeah, 32, 32, and 16. Is that enough? You guys are at... No, not quite, huh? I could probably play some more spells to get there. You guys want me to drag it out? I have,
Nah, I mean I'm good to call it there.
Yep.
I think I can get there, but it might take a minute.
You're good.
All right, good game. Sorry to be oppressive.
No,
This card is
Together.
broken. You were right to try to remove it. No one.
Well, I was
I don't
waiting for you
understand
to
how
get.
people are underestimating this card. It's so cheap right now. Sorry, go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I'm saying the only answer I had was Cyclonic Rift, and I was waiting for the right time, but.
Yeah, it was hard. I just got an overwhelming advantage. That was
that's pretty good.
yeah. All right, GG's.